The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the Aurora's edge as Captain Lisa Hayes stared at her communication panel. The message had come from deep space, encoded in a language her computer was still trying to translate. But the desperation in the alien voice needed no translation. "Please, anyone who can hear this message." The voice crackled through the static. "My people are dying. Our worlds are burning. We need help." Lisa leaned forward in her captain's chair. The Aurora's Edge was a research vessel, not a warship. Her crew of 25 scientists and engineers had been studying asteroid formations in the outer rim when they picked up the transmission. She had never spoken to an alien before. No human had. "Captain," said Dr. Kevin Walsh, her science officer. "The translation is coming through now. The being identifies itself as Ambassador Veltar of something called the Zephyrian Coalition." Lisa nodded. "Put it on screen." The main viewer flickered to life, showing a creature unlike anything in Earth's databases. Veltar stood 7 feet, tall with pale blue skin and 4 arms. His large black eyes held an expression of pure fear that needed no translation across species lines. "Human vessel," Veltar spoke, his words now clear through the translation software. "We have been monitoring your transmissions. We know you come from a world you call Earth. We have heard stories about your kind from traders who venture into the dark regions of space." Lisa felt a chill. "What kind of stories?" "They say you come from a death world. A planet so dangerous that it breeds warriors instead of peaceful beings. They say your people know only violence and conquest." Veltar paused, his 4 hands shaking. "We need that violence now." Dr. Walsh looked confused. "Captain, I don't understand. If they have faster-than-light travel and can contact us across space, what could we possibly offer them?" Veltar seemed to hear the question. "Dr. Walsh, we have technology, yes. We have energy weapons that can crack mountains. We have shields that can stop the power of stars. But none of it works against the enemy that hunts us." The screen changed to show images that made Lisa's stomach turn. Entire planets stripped bare of life. Cities that had been dissolved into gray sludge. Billions of bodies floating in space. "The krill swarm," Veltar continued. "They appeared 3 years ago from the galactic rim. They consume everything organic. Every world they touch becomes a breeding ground for more of their kind. They adapt to our weapons within hours. Energy blasts that destroy their ships one day feed their armor the next day." Lisa watched as the images showed massive insect-like creatures swarming over fleeing alien ships. The krill looked like a nightmare combination of spider and shark, each one the size of a small building. Their ships were living things, growing and changing even as they fought. "How many worlds have they taken?" Lisa asked. 47 systems, Veltar replied. 3 billion souls consumed. My own homeworld fell 2 months ago. The Coalition has 8 worlds left. We estimate 6 weeks before they reach our last stronghold. Dr. Walsh studied the tactical data flowing across his screen. "Captain, these krill are heading in a straight line across the galaxy. If they maintain their current course," Lisa felt ice in her veins. "They'll reach human space in 18 months. Perhaps less," Veltar said. "They move faster as they grow larger. Each world they consume makes them stronger." He looked directly at Lisa through the screen. "Captain Hayes, we have tried everything. Our greatest scientists have created new weapons daily. Our best warriors have died fighting them. Nothing works." "Then why contact us?" Lisa asked. "We don't even have energy weapons like yours." "Because you fight differently," Veltar said. "The traders tell stories of humans who solve problems with simple brutality. They say you use crude kinetic weapons that simply smash things instead of trying to be elegant. They say you wage war like it is a job to be finished, not an art to be practiced." Lisa looked around her bridge. Her crew was listening with growing concern. "Veltar, we're just a research ship. We have no weapons at all." "But your people do," Veltar said. "We have monitored your military communications. You have armies, fleets, weapons of great destruction. Will you help us?" Lisa made a decision that would change history. I need to contact Earth Command. Can you wait? We have little choice, Veltar replied. We will transmit all our tactical data and ship specifications to you. Perhaps your military leaders will see something we have missed. The communication ended, leaving Lisa staring at a screen full of alien technical data. Dr. Walsh was already analyzing the information, his face growing pale. Captain, he said quietly, these krill adapt to any energy-based attack within hours. But look at this. He pointed to a section of data. They've never encountered simple kinetic force. No one in the galaxy uses bullets anymore. Everyone uses energy weapons. Lisa understood immediately. Because energy weapons are more efficient and precise. Exactly. But the krill have evolved to absorb and counter energy. They might not be able to adapt to a chunk of metal moving at high speed. Lisa opened a channel to Earth. This is Captain Hayes on the Aurora's Edge. Priority 1 communication for Admiral Morrison at Earth Defense Command. We have first contact with alien life, and we have a problem. The response came back 3 hours later. Admiral Jake Morrison's weathered face appeared on screen, his gray hair and lined features showing years of military service. Captain Hayes, I've reviewed the data you sent. These krill are heading straight for us whether we help these aliens or not. Yes, sir, Lisa replied, and they're getting stronger with every world they consume. Morrison was quiet for a long moment. The Coalition is offering to share all their technology with us. Faster than light drives, energy shields, medical advances centuries ahead of ours. In exchange for our help against the krill, Lisa said. In exchange for our weapons, Morrison corrected. They specifically want our kinetic weapons and our soldiers. They think human brutality might be the key to stopping these things. Lisa felt the weight of the moment. Humanity was about to step onto the galactic stage not as explorers or diplomats but as exterminators. Sir, what are your orders? Morrison's expression hardened. We're going to give them exactly what they asked for. Prepare to escort a coalition, delegation to Earth. It's time these krill learned what happens when you threaten a Deathworld species. The transmission ended, leaving Lisa alone with her thoughts. In trying to save alien worlds, humanity was about to reveal just how dangerous Earth's children could be. Colonel Ryan Stone watched the alien world die through the viewport of his ship. The Valiant Dawn hung in space 3 million miles from what had once been the thriving planet of Kelros. Now it looked like a gray, lifeless ball of rock and metal. Jesus Christ, whispered Lieutenant Maria Santos, his pilot. There's nothing left. The planet's surface moved like water. Millions of krill swarmed across the dead world, processing the remains of cities and forests into raw materials for their war machine. Every few minutes, bioships the size of skyscrapers launched from the surface, carrying fresh troops to the front lines. How long ago did this happen? Stone asked Ambassador Veltar, who stood beside him on the bridge. 6 days, the alien replied. Kelros had 2 billion inhabitants. The krill consumed them all in 18 hours. Stone had seen war before. He had fought in 3 conflicts on Earth and thought he understood destruction. But this was different. This was not conquest or territory disputes. This was extinction made industrial. Show me how they fight, Stone said. The Valiant Dawn moved closer to the battle zone where coalition ships tried desperately to stop more krill bioships from launching. Stone watched through his tactical display as alien energy weapons struck the krill vessels. The beams hit their targets perfectly, cutting through bioarmor and destroying key systems, for about 10 minutes. Then the krill ships began to change. Their armor shifted color and texture. The same energy weapons that had hurt them before now seemed to make them stronger. Coalition ships that had been winning suddenly found themselves outgunned. Watch this, Veltar said sadly. This is why we lose every battle. A coalition destroyer fired its main cannon at a krill bioship. The energy beam struck the target and simply disappeared, absorbed into the creature's hide. The bioship returned fire with a weapon that looked exactly like the coalition cannon, but twice as powerful. They learn, Stone said. It was not a question. Within hours, Veltar confirmed. Every energy pattern, every weapon frequency, every tactical formation. They adapt and improve. What kills them today makes them stronger tomorrow. Stone spent 3 more days watching the battles. Every coalition strategy failed the same way. Superior firepower became useless when the enemy could absorb and copy it. Advanced tactics meant nothing when the Krill learned them and used them better. But Stone also noticed something else. Veltar, your people never use physical weapons. No projectiles, no explosives, no kinetic force. Such weapons are primitive, Veltar explained. Why throw rocks when you can project pure energy? Kinetic weapons are slow, inaccurate, and limited by ammunition supplies. But the Krill have never faced them, Stone realized. The valiant Dawn returned to Earth carrying detailed recordings of Krill combat capabilities. Stone reported directly to General Amanda Cross at Pentagon War Room Alpha, where Earth's top military minds had been studying the alien threat for 2 weeks. General, Stone began, we cannot fight these things the way the Coalition does. Every conventional energy weapon becomes useless within hours. What about unconventional weapons? Asked Dr. Kevin Walsh, who had been studying Krill biology since first contact. The Krill adapt to energy patterns and chemical compositions, Dr. Walsh explained to the assembled officers. Their bioarmor analyzes threats and develops countermeasures in real time. But look at this. Walsh displayed a molecular scan of Krill armor on the main screen. This armor is designed to disperse energy and neutralize chemical attacks, but it has almost no resistance to simple physical force. A bullet moving at high velocity would punch right through it. General Cross leaned forward. Are you saying these things that can adapt to energy weapons capable of destroying planets can be killed by bullets? Not just bullets, Dr. Walsh said excitedly. Any kinetic weapon. Railgun slugs, artillery shells, even thrown rocks if they hit hard enough. The Krill have never encountered species that still use physical projectiles, so they never evolved defenses against them. Colonel Stone nodded. It makes sense. Why would they develop armor against rocks when everyone in the galaxy uses energy weapons? General Cross stood up. Gentlemen, we have been asked to provide military assistance to an alien coalition. They have offered us technology worth centuries of development in exchange for our help. She paused, looking around the room. What they do not know is that helping them helps us. These Krill are heading for Earth whether we get involved or not. She activated a star map showing Krill expansion patterns. At their current rate of growth, they will reach human space in 14 months. By then, they will have consumed dozens more worlds and grown exponentially stronger. So we stop them now while they are still manageable, Stone said. Exactly. General Cross turned to Admiral Jake Morrison. Jake, how quickly can we retrofit our ships with alien technology? The Coalition has been very generous, Morrison replied. Faster than light drives, energy shields, advanced medical systems. Our engineers estimate 6 weeks to retrofit the entire 7th Fleet. What about weapons? Cross asked. Morrison smiled grimly. That is where it gets interesting. We load our ships with every kinetic weapon we have, railguns, missile systems, artillery cannons, even small arms for boarding actions. The aliens want primitive human weapons, so we give them our best primitive weapons. Dr. Walsh raised a concern. General, the Krill will eventually adapt to kinetic weapons too. They might take longer, but they will figure it out. Then we make sure they do not get the chance, Cross replied. We hit them so hard and so fast that adaptation becomes irrelevant. Overwhelming firepower applied with maximum efficiency. Stone understood the strategy. Shock and awe, but with bullets instead of bombs. Precisely. General Cross activated another display showing Earth's military assets. We are mobilizing completely. Every kinetic weapon system, every soldier trained in close combat, every piece of equipment designed to break things rather than manipulate energy. The room fell silent as the officers realized what was happening. Humanity was about to enter galactic warfare not as sophisticated energy weapon users, but as the galaxy's primitive, violent species, that still solved problems by throwing heavy objects very fast. "Sir," Stone asked, "what do we tell the Coalition about our methods?" General Cross considered the question. "We tell them the truth. They asked for human warriors. They are about to discover what that really means." Admiral Morrison checked his tactical display. "General, the Coalition delegate wants to observe our weapons testing before we deploy." "Schedule it," Cross ordered. "Let them see exactly what kind of help they asked for. And Morrison, make sure they understand that once we start this fight, we finish it. The human way." The meeting ended with Earth preparing for its first interstellar war. But unlike every other species in the galaxy, humanity was not planning to outthink or outmaneuver the enemy. They were planning to outkill them with the most primitive weapons imaginable. The Krill had spent millennia adapting to energy weapons and advanced technology. They were about to meet a species that still believed the best solution to any problem was hitting it harder. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kalani system. Admiral Amanda Cross stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Earthbreaker, watching the tactical display with grim satisfaction. 28 human warships hung in space, their hulls bristling with weapons that had not been seen in galactic warfare for 1,000 years. "Admiral," reported Captain Tony Miller from the weapons station. "All ships report ready. Railguns charged, missile tubes loaded, and kinetic bombardment systems online." Cross nodded. 3 months of preparation had led to this moment. Human ships now carried alien faster-than-light drives and energy shields, but their weapons were purely Earth-made. Tungsten rods, explosive warheads, and electromagnetically accelerated projectiles filled their cargo holds. Communications. "Get me Commander Blake on the Valiant Dawn." Commander Steve Blake appeared on the main screen from his position near Kalani Prime. His ship had been watching the battle for 2 days, studying Krill tactics while Coalition forces fought a losing battle above the planet. "Admiral, the situation is bad," Blake reported. "The Coalition has 47 ships left. The Krill have over 200 bioships and more keep arriving from their breeding worlds. Coalition energy weapons worked for about 6 hours, then the Krill adapted completely." Cross could see the battle through Blake's tactical feed. Coalition ships fired brilliant energy beams that struck Krill bioships with devastating effect. But even as she watched, the Krill armor began to change color and texture, absorbing the energy attacks and converting them into fuel. "How long before Kalani falls?" Cross asked. 12 hours, maybe less," Blake replied. "The Krill are preparing to land ground forces. 2 billion civilians down there, Admiral." Cross felt the weight of command. This would be humanity's first real test in galactic warfare. If human weapons failed like everything else, Earth would face the Krill alone in 14 months. "All ships, this is Admiral Cross," she announced over the fleet communication system. "Today we find out if human warfare works against an enemy that has conquered half the galaxy. Remember, these things have never faced kinetic weapons. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and do not give them time to adapt." The human fleet moved toward the battle zone at maximum speed. Krill bioships detected their approach and began to shift. Formation. The aliens had learned to recognize new energy signatures and prepare countermeasures in advance. But the Krill sensors could not understand what they were detecting. Human ships carried no energy weapons at all. Their hulls were filled with simple metal projectiles and chemical explosives, technologies so primitive that Krill analysis systems dismissed them as non-threatening. "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Maria Santos from her fighter squadron, "the Krill are ignoring us. Their bioships are maintaining formation against the Coalition fleet." "Perfect," Cross replied. "All ships, weapons free. Show them what Earth warfare looks like." The Earthbreaker fired first. Its main railgun sent a tungsten penetrator rod through space at 15% of light speed. The projectile struck a Krill bioship amidships and punched completely through the creature, exiting the other side in a spray of alien biomatter. The Krill bioship did not adapt. It did not absorb the energy. It simply died. "Direct hit," shouted Captain Miller. "Target destroyed." Around the fleet, every human ship opened fire simultaneously. Railgun rounds, missile warheads, and kinetic kill vehicles filled space with simple, deadly projectiles. The Krill bioships, expecting energy weapons they could adapt to, instead met chunks of metal moving at incredible speeds. The results were catastrophic for the aliens. Bioships that had survived hours of coalition energy bombardment were torn apart by single railgun rounds. Armor that could absorb the power of stars simply disintegrated under kinetic impact. "This is Santos," reported the fighter pilot. "They are not adapting to our weapons. I have fired 60 rounds from my cannon and every shot is punching through their armor like it is made of paper." Commander Blake watched in amazement as the tide of battle shifted completely in minutes. "Admiral, the Krill are trying to analyze our weapons, but they keep getting the same result. Simple kinetic force. Their adaptation systems do not know how to counter basic physics." The Krill bioships began to retreat, something coalition forces had never seen before. But Admiral Cross was not finished. "All fighters pursue and destroy," she ordered. "Do not let any of them escape to report our capabilities." Lieutenant Santos led her squadron after the fleeing bioships. Her fighter, the Steel Rain, carried no energy weapons or sophisticated targeting systems. Instead, it mounted 4 rotary cannons that fired depleted uranium rounds at 3,000 rounds per minute. "Santos to Earthbreaker," she reported as she closed on a damaged bioship. "These things are trying to grow armor against our bullets, but it is not working. The armor keeps getting thicker, but our rounds just punch through anyway." She opened fire on the bioship, her cannon sending a stream of metal into its hull. The creature tried desperately to adapt, growing new layers of protection, but simple kinetic energy could not be absorbed or redirected. It could only be stopped by something harder, and the Krill had no experience with that kind of defense. Within an hour, the largest Krill fleet ever assembled was reduced to floating debris. 200 bioships destroyed by weapons the galaxy had forgotten how to make. "Admiral," reported Dr. Kevin Walsh from the science station, "I am reading massive biochemical changes in the surviving Krill. They are trying to adapt to kinetic weapons, but their evolution system is not designed for it. They keep producing energy absorption modifications that do nothing against physical projectiles." Cross nodded with satisfaction. "Communications, get me Ambassador Veltar on the Coalition flagship." The alien's face appeared on screen, his 4 arms shaking with disbelief. "Admiral Cross, what have you done? We have been fighting the Krill for 3 years. You destroyed their entire fleet in 1 hour." "We used simple human tactics," Cross replied. "Hit the enemy with overwhelming firepower and do not stop until they are all dead." "But how are your weapons so effective?" Veltar asked. "Because you asked for primitive weapons," Cross explained. "The Krill have spent millennia learning to counter advanced energy technology. They never learned to stop a chunk of metal moving at high speed." Blake's voice came over the communication system. "Admiral, we are detecting Krill reinforcements, arriving at the edge of the system. 50 more bioships." Cross smiled coldly. "All ships reload and prepare for round 2. Let us see if the Krill learn fast enough to matter." The second battle lasted 30 minutes. The Krill bioships had attempted to develop kinetic-resistant armor during their journey to Kalani, but metal moving at 15% of light speed could not be stopped by biological modifications designed over a few hours. As the last Krill bioship exploded under human fire, Admiral Cross realized that humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most violent way possible. They had not come as diplomats or traitors. They had come as exterminators. News of the human victory at Kalani Prime spread across the galaxy faster than lightspeed travel. Within days, every species in the coalition knew that the mysterious Deathworld warriors had destroyed a Krill fleet in less than 2 hours. But the Krill knew it too. Admiral Amanda Cross received the intelligence report while reviewing battle damage aboard the Earthbreaker. Commander Steve Blake delivered the news personally, his face grim with concern. "Admiral, long-range sensors are picking up massive Krill movement throughout their territory. They are pulling forces from 12 different star systems and moving them toward human space." Cross studied the tactical display showing Krill fleet movements. Red markers indicated enemy bioships converging from across their empire, forming the largest armada anyone had ever seen. "How many ships are we talking about?" Cross asked. "Conservative estimate? 800 bioships. But Admiral, These are not the same vessels we fought at Kalani. Intelligence suggests the Krill are growing new ship types specifically designed to counter kinetic weapons. Dr. Kevin Walsh looked up from his research station. Admiral, I have been studying the debris from Kalani, the Krill bioships we destroyed. We're trying to develop kinetic-resistant armor even as they died. They are learning, just slower than usual. Cross walked to the main viewport, staring out at the stars. Earth was 6 months away at maximum speed. The Krill Armada would reach human space in 10 months, giving them 4 months to adapt their forces for fighting humans. How long would it take them to develop effective armor against our weapons? She asked. Unknown, Walsh replied. But given their adaptation speed with energy weapons, I would estimate they need 6 months of continuous exposure to kinetic attacks to develop reliable countermeasures. Cross made a decision that would echo through galactic history. She turned to her communication officer. Get me President Harrison on Earth. Priority Alpha Channel. The president's face appeared on the secure communication screen 15 minutes later. Behind him, Cross could see the emergency session of world leaders that had been meeting continuously since first contact with the aliens. Admiral Cross, congratulations on your victory, President Harrison said. The coalition has been sending messages of gratitude for hours. Thank you, sir, but we have a bigger problem now. The Krill are mobilizing their entire empire against us. 800 ships minimum, possibly more. The president leaned forward. Can we stop that many? Not with the forces we have now, Cross admitted. Sir, I am requesting full military mobilization. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier Earth can provide. You have it, Harrison replied without hesitation. What do you need? Cross outlined her plan. The Krill are giving us 10 months to prepare. We use that time to build a fleet unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. Not energy weapons or sophisticated technology. Pure kinetic destruction on a scale that makes our current arsenal look like toys. Within weeks, Earth transformed into a military production center. Every shipyard worked around the clock building new vessels designed for one purpose, delivering kinetic weapons at maximum efficiency. The aliens provided faster-than-light drives and defensive shields, but humans provided the weapons. Captain Tony Miller oversaw the construction of the new kinetic bombardment platforms at Luna shipyards. Each platform was essentially a massive railgun with engines attached, designed to fire tungsten rods the size of telephone poles at 20% of light speed. How many are we building? Asked Major Chris Evans, who was training coalition pilots in human fighter tactics. 50 platforms, Miller replied. Each one can fire every 30 seconds. That is 100 projectiles per minute with enough force to crack a moon. Dr. Sarah Bell worked with alien scientists to develop new ammunition types using coalition materials. We are creating armor-piercing rounds that can punch through anything biological, she explained to Admiral Cross during a progress review. The aliens have provided us with materials harder than anything on Earth. But the most significant development came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Maria Santos, now promoted to squadron leader, reported a discovery during combat training exercises. Admiral, we have been testing human weapons against coalition ship hulls to understand penetration capabilities. But we found something interesting. Our simple explosive shells do more damage to alien biotechnology than our advanced penetrator rounds. Cross studied the test results. Explain. Bioships are living creatures, Santos said. They can heal damage from clean punctures fairly quickly, but explosive fragmentation creates wounds they cannot easily repair. Shrapnel tears up their internal organs faster than they can regenerate. Dr. Walsh nodded excitedly. Of course, we have been thinking about this wrong. We do not need to just punch holes in them. We need to cause trauma their biological systems cannot handle. This led to the development of new human weapon types. Explosive fragmentation rounds, incendiary shells designed to burn biomatter, and chemical weapons that disrupted alien biological processes. Everything the civilized galaxy had abandoned centuries ago as too crude and destructive. Ambassador Veltar visited the Earth Fleet construction yards and reported his observations to the Coalition Council. They are not building a military fleet, he told the assembled alien leaders. They are building an extermination force. The human fleet grew to over 200 ships, each one carrying weapons designed for maximum destruction rather than precision. Railguns, missile launchers, chemical spray systems, and nuclear warheads filled cargo holds that other species would have used for energy weapon capacitors. Commander Blake, now promoted to admiral, led a reconnaissance mission to monitor Krill fleet movements. What he found confirmed everyone's worst fears. Admiral Cross, the Krill have adapted faster than we expected. Their new bioships have armor 3 times thicker than before. They are growing specialized weapon systems and deploying in formation patterns designed to minimize kinetic weapon effectiveness. Cross reviewed the intelligence data. The Krill had learned from Kalani Prime. Their new ships showed clear evidence of evolutionary adaptation to human tactics. Are they immune to our weapons now? She asked. Not immune, Blake replied, but much more resistant. It will take multiple hits to destroy targets that used to die from single shots. Cross considered this information for a moment, then smiled grimly. Admiral Blake, the Krill have made a critical error in their adaptation strategy. Sir, they are adapting to fight the human fleet they defeated at Kalani, but that is not the fleet they are going to face. Cross activated a display showing Earth's current military production. They are preparing to fight 28 ships with standard railguns. We are bringing 200 ships with weapons specifically designed to kill things that think they are immune to kinetic force. The final month of preparation saw humanity's most intensive military buildup in history. Every weapon system was tested, every tactical formation practiced, and every contingency planned. Major Sam Foster led the boarding action training program, teaching human soldiers to fight inside alien bioships using shotguns, flamethrowers, and explosive charges. Remember, he told his troops, these creatures have never faced close combat with primitive weapons. They do not know how to handle soldiers who prefer knives and grenades to energy rifles. As the human fleet prepared to launch, Admiral Cross received one final communication from Earth. President Harrison appeared on screen with a simple message. Admiral, the entire world is watching. Show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. Cross looked around her bridge at officers who had spent months preparing for the largest battle in galactic history. Gentlemen, the Krill wanted to see what Deathworld warriors could do. Let us give them a proper demonstration. The Krill Prime Hive hung in space like a nightmare made real. The bioconstruct stretched 50 miles across, its surface crawling with millions of smaller creatures that served as its immune system. This was the brain of the entire Krill swarm, the central intelligence that had directed the consumption of 47 worlds. Admiral Amanda Cross stood on the bridge of the Earthbreaker, watching her fleet take position around the massive alien structure. 200 human warships formed a perfect sphere around the hive, their weapons trained on the most important target in galactic history. Admiral, reported Captain Tony Miller. Long-range sensors show over 1,000 Krill bioships approaching, from all directions. This is everything they have left. Cross nodded. The Krill had stripped every system they controlled to defend their prime hive. This would be the final battle of the war. Winner takes everything. Communications. Get me Admiral. Morrison on the Doomsday. Admiral Jake Morrison appeared on screen from the bridge of humanity's newest and largest warship. The Doomsday was built for one purpose, to carry the planet-killer weapon that Earth's engineers had developed specifically for this moment. Amanda, the big gun is ready, Morrison reported. One tungsten rod, 50 feet long, launched at 30% of light speed, enough kinetic energy to crack a planet in half. Good, Cross replied. Hold that shot until I give the word. We need to see what the Krill have learned first. The enemy bioships arrived in waves, darkening space with their numbers. These were not the same creatures humanity had fought at Kalani Prime. The new Krill ships were larger, covered in thick armor plating, and moved in coordinated formations that showed clear tactical intelligence. Commander Steve Blake, now leading the fast attack squadrons, reported from the front lines. Admiral, these new bioships are definitely adapted for fighting us. Thicker armor, multiple redundant organs and weapon systems that look like improved versions of our own railguns. Cross watched the tactical display as over 1,000 enemy ships took position around the human fleet. For a moment it looked like humanity might be completely outnumbered. "All ships," Cross announced over the fleet communication system. "Remember why we are here. These creatures have consumed billions of innocent lives. They are heading for Earth next. Today we end their expansion permanently." The Krill attacked first, launching bioprojectiles from their organic weapons at human ships. The projectiles moved fast, but nothing like the speed of human railgun rounds. They struck human energy shields and were absorbed harmlessly. "Their projectile weapons are ineffective against our defenses," reported Dr. Kevin Walsh from his science station. "But Admiral, they are learning from every shot. Each volley is slightly faster and more accurate than the last." Cross had expected this. "All ships open fire. Maximum rate, all weapons." The human response was immediate and overwhelming. 200 warships fired simultaneously, sending thousands of kinetic projectiles at the Krill fleet. Railgun rounds, explosive missiles and fragmentation shells filled space with deadly metal. The adapted Krill bioships absorbed the first wave of fire better than their predecessors. Their thick armor stopped some railgun rounds, and their improved healing systems repaired damage faster than before. But they could not stop everything. "Direct hits on multiple targets," reported Lieutenant Maria Santos from her fighter squadron. "But these things are tough. It is taking 5 times as many shots to kill them." The battle became a grinding contest of firepower versus adaptation. Human weapons tore through Krill armor while the aliens tried desperately to evolve faster defenses. Bioships that survived the first minutes of combat began growing even thicker, plating and developing new tactics. But Admiral Cross had prepared for exactly this scenario. "All ships switched to fragmentation rounds," she ordered. "Let us see how well they heal from shrapnel wounds." The change in ammunition type caught the Krill completely off guard. Their armor, designed to stop solid projectiles, could not prevent explosive shells from detonating inside their hulls. Shrapnel tore through bioship interiors, causing massive internal damage that their healing systems could not repair fast enough. Within 30 minutes, the largest Krill fleet ever assembled was reduced to half strength. But Cross was not satisfied with half measures. Major Sam Foster led his boarding teams to the damaged bioships that were still alive, but unable to fight effectively. Human soldiers entered alien vessels carrying shotguns, flamethrowers, and chemical weapons that the galaxy had not seen in warfare for centuries. "Foster to Earthbreaker," he reported from inside a Krill bioship. "These creatures have no defense against close combat. They adapted to fight our ships, but they never considered soldiers with primitive weapons fighting inside their bodies." The boarding actions were brief and decisive. Krill bioships, evolved to handle energy weapons and space combat, could not cope with humans using fire and explosives in their internal organs. Creatures that had survived railgun bombardment died to soldiers with knives and grenades. As the last of the Krill fleet was destroyed, Admiral Cross turned her attention to the Prime Hive itself. The massive bio-construct had watched the entire battle without moving, but now it began to change. New weapon ports opened across its surface and streams of smaller bioships launched from hidden bays. "Admiral," warned Dr. Walsh, "the Hive is activating defensive systems we have never seen before. Power readings are off the charts." Cross smiled coldly. "Morrison, fire the Planet Killer." The Doomsday's main weapon charged for 30 seconds, building electromagnetic force beyond anything ever created by human technology. When it fired, the tungsten rod it launched was barely visible, moving at 30% of light speed. The projectile struck the Prime Hive dead center and kept going. 50 miles of alien bioconstruct simply disintegrated around the impact point, torn apart by kinetic energy, equivalent to a small star exploding. But Cross was still not finished. "All ships concentrate fire on the Hive core," she ordered. "I want every weapon we have hitting that thing until there is nothing left but debris." 200 human warships opened fire on the dying Prime Hive. Thousands of rounds per second hammered the bioconstruct, each impact tearing away more of its mass. The central intelligence that had controlled the consumption of entire worlds was reduced to floating wreckage in less than 10 minutes. Sergeant Kelly Wright, leading the final boarding team into the Hive's core chamber, found the Krill Queen mine barely alive among the wreckage. The creature was the size of a building, its multiple brains exposed and sparking with dying neural activity. Wright looked at the alien intelligence that had ordered the death of billions. Then she placed a simple human explosive device next to its primary brain cluster and walked away. The explosion that ended the krill swarm was surprisingly small. 1 pound of chemical explosive, a weapon so primitive that most galactic species had forgotten it existed. As the human fleet regrouped after the battle, Admiral Cross received communication requests from dozens of alien species across the galaxy. Word of humanity's victory was spreading faster than the ships carrying the news. Ambassador Veltar appeared on screen from the Coalition flagship, his forearms shaking with a mixture of gratitude and fear. "Admiral Cross, you have saved the galaxy. The krill threat is ended forever." "Good," Cross replied simply. "Now every species knows what happens when you threaten Earth or our allies." The human fleet began its journey home, leaving behind the EAO debris of the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. But more importantly, they left behind a message that would be remembered for generations. Humanity had entered galactic civilization not as diplomats or traitors, but as the species you called when something needed to be completely destroyed.